Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jump Up Supercast, the only podcast on the internet that's a gathering of more than 5 people in North America. I'm Will, and joining me, Brandon.
There's too many people gathering here. We got to cancel the thing. It's a danger to everybody.
Ills.
Yeah, I'm just scratching my face right now. Touching my face with both hands. It's good.
And Muzamil.
Both Saf and Brandon have the coronavirus, actually.
Got him.
Kind of crazy. Saf seems to be suffering worse from it since he's not here, but Brandon's got it too.
The mission was a success.
I mean, maybe Brandon won't be here next week, because, you know, by that point, it's going to really hit him, you know?
Yeah, there's the big wave.
No, actually, you're supposed to feel it 2 to 3 days after, and it's been a good, 5-6 days.
Look at this public service announcement. But is that also true? Isn't it like a couple weeks?
I thought it can incubate for 2 weeks.
Well,
I don't know
the
who to
worst of it
believe.
was yesterday. I felt really bad yesterday. I feel pretty good today, so.
So we beat it. We did it. Coronavirus is over. We did it.
I beat it. Actually, the reality, I'm pretty sure I just had con funk from PAX East.
Yeah, but this year, that's the thing though. This year, Confunk could be coronavirus.
It could be. It also could be. Yes.
Brandon, how was PAX East?
It was really fun. I had a great time. The only problem was I didn't get to play Animal Crossing, which was a little disappointing.
Sure.
But I did get to take the pictures. So.
I mean, that's the important thing.
That is the important thing.
Experiences are secondary.
Pictures. I should post those on social media.
Yeah. Check out the Jump Up Supercast Twitter account where you can see Brandon pose with Tom Nook and Isabel from the Animal Crossing series.
Well, not Tom Nook. I didn't get a picture with Tom Nook, but I did get a picture with Isabel and KK Slayer. So.
Was Tom Nook also around?
Tom Nook was there. They were rotating the people in costume in and out, giving them breaks.
Oh, so Tom Nook was resting.
He was taking
Tom Nook, yeah.
Timmy and Tommy were in the shop.
He was the only one out when I got in line, and by the time I got out there, he was gone. But luckily, right before I got there, Isabel came out. So that was the most important thing.
Of course.
All right.
So besides all that, of course. Well, actually, this is another question. While we're still on it, right? We're not rushing this podcast.
Yeah.
Did you play any hot indie titles at PAX? Right, because that's always what cons I think are really good for. You know?
Yeah, I did. I played some good ones. I played Spirit Fair. Liked that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to that game, by the way. It's a really cool game. I played the co-op mode with my friend. Co-op mode seemed a little pointless.
Yeah.
But it can also be a little fun thing if you're hanging out with somebody. It really doesn't add or take away anything. It's just an extra person that is running around. But the game is really cool. It's really just, I don't know if you know anything about Spirit Fair.
Mm-hmm.
You're on a boat, and there's these animals who they're actually dead. They're all spirits. Hence the name Spirit Fair. But really, your mission is to grant their last wishes before they go off into the afterlife. So you pick up all these spirits and you have them living on your boat together, and you complete quests and try to you get to know them, who they were and everything, and their backstories, and then grant all their last wishes and send them off, which is it's really neat. And also, obviously, super wholesome. And there's a hug command, so that's obviously amazing. So, in the nice 2D hand-drawn animation, really, really cool. I also played Moving Out, made by the Overcooked team.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really cool, too. Like a co-op game, kind of like Overcooked. But in this game, you're a bunch of movers who just have to move a bunch of package, basically all the furniture in somebody's house. You have to pack it up and move it out into the moving truck. And you do so by causing a lot of damage along the way. You have to work together to tossing items and throwing things, and some things you have to have 2 people to pick it up, one on each side. And
sounds a lot like Overcooked.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's very similar to Overcooked, which I guess isn't really a bad thing because Overcooked is really good. So
I didn't know they were making a new game.
Yeah, me neither. And I saw this and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And I played it and it was really fun.
Nice.
Also played Nirvana, which I didn't even know there was a sequel to Valhalla coming out, but there is.
Oh yeah, I did know that.
There's a question. Is it a direct sequel or is it just in the style of?
Well, no, it's a direct sequel taking place at Nirvana instead. Which, if you played Valhalla, it's another bar that gets mentioned at one point in the game. And this it's a different bartender, so it's not Jill anymore. It's a girl named Sam, and it takes place in a different city, and it takes place at a bar in a hotel, so it's much classier and higher end. You're not working in in the seedy part of the cities anymore. So it's a different story to be told. So it's
nice.
I'm looking forward to it.
PAX East. There's such an interesting arc to PAX and indie games, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Because we talked about Castle Crashers last week, right? That was like I feel like there was a moment where like Castle Crashers and the indie mega booth, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's a correlation in that rise, right? And now it sort of is this very interesting thing that's like it's an institution more than anything else, right? Like at this point, is there 15 years going for PAX at this point? Is this their 15th year? Like,
it's been a long time, yeah. Also, they had an arcade cabinet for the Enter the Gungeon game was there. It was fucking awesome.
That's the stuff that's really cool that you can do at a convention.
Yeah, Exit? It was
the shooter. Oh, okay.
The Gundead one.
Yeah.
House of the Gundead.
House of the Gundead. Nice.
Yeah, they announced it at their Devolver thing last year at E3, I think.
The Behemoth, by the way, still has a big presence at PAX every single time. Bringing the same games they brought for the last 15 years.
Well, this year they had a new game, didn't they? Because Alien Hominid Invasion, they announced.
That's not hardly a new game.
It's a brand new game.
Oh, is it an actual new Alien Hominid?
Yeah,
yes.
It's a sequel.
At first we thought it was a remake, but no, it's straight up a new game.
Oh, okay.
Multiplayer, a bunch of other stuff in there.
Oh, that's cool then. That's exciting, because I just thought it was just... yeah, god damn it. I just thought everything I read on the internet just said, it's Alien Hominid HD, and I was like, yeah.
That's what. See, yeah, because their initial phrasing was like, it's a reimagining, I guess.
Yes.
I don't remember what they said. But yeah, no, it's like, no, this is a new Alien Hominid game. I don't. Maybe sequel's not the right word, but it's a new Alien Hominid game.
Son of a bitch.
Did you find the Yacht Club guys?
I did, but I didn't get to talk to any of the developers, so I'm sorry.
No, not that. Did you play any of the games like Shovel Knight?
Yeah, Cyber Shadow.
The line there was insane. I really wanted to play the puzzle one, but the line was just ridiculous.
What is it called? Shovel Knight
Pocket Dungeon?
Oh, Pocket Dungeon.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked neat though. It looked interesting. I kind of want to check that out.
But... Walked by and watched like a good minute or two of somebody playing it, and I was like, damn, I want to play that, but I couldn't justify waiting like over an hour.
Yeah. They're publishing that Cyber Shadow game too, right?
They are. Mm-hmm. And that's coming out in fall. Yeah.
I secretly picked it up on my fantasy club thing.
Whoa.
Ooh, very sneaky.
Suck it.
Also, I didn't get to play Psychonauts 2, but I got to sit in on a demo.
Developer walkthrough?
Yeah. Which was cool.
Developer walkthroughs are such a funny thing for a public event, right? Because when it's like a press event like E3, people sort of understand, right? Like, or the press is used to it. It's the way to phrase that, right?
Yeah.
Where the public, you sort of think, well, I'm going to go play it, right? But then you sort of sit there and you watch someone else explain for a while.
Yeah.
But still cool, It
was cool. They gave you a little ticket, and it was like a Psychonauts like ID card, like a little badge thing that you had to come back at a certain time. And they were only giving out, X amount. You had to like go ask for one. Mm-hmm. But they let you keep the ticket. It was really cool. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
So that's PAX East. Got to see some interesting demos. You know what else had a demo this week? Oh, baby.
What?
A game that would have been out this week if not for a delay. Final Fantasy VII Remake.
It's true. I downloaded it to my PS4 and did not play it.
Well, originally it was going to be in Saf talking about it, but then Saf got sick. So I won't go too long, but I'll give impressions, right? If that's okay. And you can ask questions, I guess, if you're curious. The top level for like the aesthetic stuff, right, which is the thing you can just see in a video, is that there's a realization aspect to a lot of the stuff when I played it on my own TV, right? Like when there's the opening shot of Aerith and it zooms out through Midgar and then up to the Shinra Tower, you're like, oh man, this is like, you can buy this is what was in their heads 20 years ago, right? And I have the same thing to say about the music, where just like, oftentimes I love FF7's compositions, but sometimes I feel like the PS1 sound chip doesn't have the oomph to sort of like back up the bombast they're going for. And obviously, when you have an orchestrated soundtrack, you can. So both of those are great. And then it's only through the first bombing run, right? So it's about an hour, so you can beat it very easily. If
I thought it was
curious.
like 3 hours.
You can take your time and do 3 hours, right?
Oh.
But I played it about an hour and a half today, right? Is generally sort of taking my time.
Oh, for pro gamers, you cut that number in half.
That's me.
Gotcha.
I mean, the thing that cuts down a lot of the time is that there's no random battles, and enemies, at least in the bombing run, don't respawn. So there's not really like the grinding aspect. Like you're fighting the enemies and then you're moving on. But the combat is interesting because obviously a lot of people are on this game. We're on FF15 and on Kingdom Hearts, right? So that's the closest comparison point for an action RPG from Square Enix.
2 shitty games.
Well, Kingdom Hearts, I think the combat.
It's shit.
I'm gonna keep pushing. But I think they do a good job of melding. They said that that was their goal, right? Is to meld action with the turn-based system, right? And I think that they do it successfully. And the thing that caught me off guard was they've actually done a good job of making you swap between party members on the regular, right? Because it's not just because like there's a moment in the demo where they're like, there's an enemy far away and Barrett has a gun, so you should use the gun to shoot the far away enemy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in a more like subtle way, there's a lot of moments where your ATB meter, right, which is at the bottom, is built up by you attacking, right, primarily, but it also builds up over time, and it does so when you're not actively controlling a character. So a lot of the times, if you're playing as Cloud, you'll build up that meter, right? And then you'll either everything, items, magic, abilities, all require ATB, right? So you can't just like spam potions or whatever else, right?
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, which is nice. And so, you'll do those things and you'll be like, well, I could either just keep mashing as Cloud, or I could swap over to Barrett, who has built his meter up while I've been doing that, and you'll be alternating back and forth in that way. Almost like it is a turn-based, and you're attacking based off how their bars are, which is like how the old game was, right? While at the same time, you can, be far more active in like dodging and in guarding and swapping to different. I mean, Cloud has 2 different modes that he can fight in, which means that I think they've done a good job mixing the 2. Obviously, it's an hour in, but and we didn't like Tifa and Aerith. We don't know how they fight yet, but just from the 2 that are in the demo, there's distinct play styles.
I like that because, like, one of the things that why I kind of got bored of FF15 was just you were just playing as Noctis the whole time,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
you were holding
I know
X
they
all the
added-
time.
And you're holding the button.
Yeah, and you're just holding the button. You're just holding the attack button and then occasionally pressing the...
And you can't die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, FF15's combat was a little bit more mundane,
A lot
Mm-hmm.
more mundane.
And so 7 Remake seems to be not just a lot more interesting and a lot more cool, but also seems to be fulfilling a lot of the promises of what we kind of saw in Versus 13,
Sure.
which is what 15 ended up turning into.
Yeah, which is a weird legacy to leave, right? Like,
Yeah.
fulfilling
Yeah,
a legacy, but not the game that the game turned into.
Right, yeah. I think, it's very clear to me that Nomura took a lot of the ideas from Versus 13 and put them in here, I'm glad, I don't know. I'm interested to try it myself, but I'm glad that the combat seems to be at least a lot more involved than 15. Because that was my main worry, right? It was like, Final Fantasy has tried action combat in a mainline entry.
Yeah.
And it was like, I know some people like it, but it is a mixed reception to it, right? And it is fairly, not complex, to say the least.
Sure. Yeah.
It's hot garbage. Say it like it is. It's hot garbage.
Yeah.
And then the other big thing about the game, right, is how are they going to make Midgar work, right? Because we're now all of us in this podcast have played through the Midgar part of Final Fantasy VII, thanks to the New Year's resolution for Brandon.
Wow.
And I think it's interesting because the big story change that happened to the end of this demo, which is once again a spoiler for 45 to an hour 30 minutes into the game, right? So not a huge spoiler. You blow up the reactor, right? The machine at the center of the reactor, and then it cuts to President Shinra, who then sends in a code to basically tell all the machines in there to self-destruct to blow up the whole facility, right? Which is different, seemingly, than what it was. At first glance, is different than what it was in the original game, right? And people are saying, is this taking away from like Avalanche being this weird eco-terrorist group? Is it kind of making them like softer than they were before, right? And I think it's interesting because it is a change, right? But if you go back to the original game, someone pointed this out, and you talk to Jessie after the bombing run, right? She says the explosion wasn't supposed to be that big. Did I mess something up, right? Which clearly implies that they weren't planning to blow up the whole of the facility in the original game. And then later on, the president of Shinra goes, "We've been playing you the whole time to try to make you look like, the enemy of the people," right?
Yeah.
I've seen some purists are very angry about this change.
Yeah.
I mean, was Avalanche really that important in the long run? Like,
Well, I mean, the thing is, they're going to have to be in this game, right? And that's part of it. It's
I
like,
mean, that's true, but I mean in the original game, because
Yeah.
this is what seemingly
No,
people
yeah,
are
I think
angry
they'll.
about.
I get, I get,
questioning
and I think you're not wrong. I think that it's. I mean, it's very nitpicky, this type of stuff, right? But the thing that is interesting is that they hint at it very, very little in a little after thing at the demo. Is that obviously the way that they're going to explain the story is through the characters that are there, right? Mm-hmm. They're not adding in any like outside of canon characters, right? They've confirmed. Don't worry, Ills. Genesis is not showing up in the game. In any
Thank
capacity.
God! Oh my God! Thank you.
The most that they have in the hour of the demo is that they mention, one of the guys mentions to the president of Shinra, "Hey, it's the group that tried to assassinate you," which is, and that's it. That's the only reference to anything outside of the original game, because in Before Crisis, someone tried to kill Shinra from Avalanche. That's it. But the thing is, like, when they show the explosion, it's like, you see like the rubble hitting people like in the streets, right? Like you see like cars breaking. Like it's a genuine terrifying moment for the people of Midgar. And seemingly that's going to be part of the story now, right? Suddenly these characters are going to have to grapple with, hey, wait a minute, and are we like, we're saving the planet, but like I'm directly looking at the people being harmed by what we're doing, right? And is it worth it, basically? Which I think is an interesting tact to sort of make. But especially for a character like Barrett. But Han shot first. Especially because they played
was
up
always
Barrett.
kind of operating in a gray area, though, right?
Yeah, and they're playing.
I mean,
they're
this is
sort
a
of
little
playing
more,
into that.
more explicit, so yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
And
isn't a majority of Midgar like the slums anyway?
Sure, right, yeah. But the thing is, like, even those people that are in the slums are suddenly like scared of the like Cloud is an enemy of the people, right? In that moment, right? If because the Shinra blames it on them.
Cloud don't care.
Cloud don't care, and I think they've done a good job characterizing all the characters. I won't get into specifics on all that, but I think also they're playing up like, because Barrett was always going to be a weird thing, right? Because he's based off Mr. T in the original, and sort of like that doesn't work in 2020. And
yeah,
so
I had a question for you. Now that you played it, how often does Barrett swear?
Turn down the swearing a lot.
Oh, that's
have you heard him swear at all?
Wait,
Yes, there's a couple times. He does say
Mr.
shit a
T
few other times.
canceled?
No, it's not that. It's not that. It's just more like.
I'm just joking.
It's just a meme question. But sort of they've taken him to be sort of like a radical man on a mission kind of vibe, right? Like there's a cute moment where he's sort of like straight on like explaining like to the audience for new players what the Mako reactor is and why it's bad. But like Jessie and Cloud sort of look at each other and both shrug, like, we both know this. Like, why is he just ranting at us? But like that's within the character of Barrett now, is like he's a fanatic, right? And they build that up, at least in the hour, which is cool. So yeah. So I mean, obviously we'll see how the rest of it goes, but it's free. Why not try it? You know.
My only thing is I'm gonna have to replay this again in a month. You know, that section.
That's kind of
Yeah, it's not one of those your progress carries over demos.
It does not. They say in the description.
Which is weird because Square likes to do those kind of demos.
Yeah,
They're
Octopath
the best
had it.
kind of demos, especially for friggin' RPGs.
Didn't Dragon Quest have it?
Yeah,
Yes.
Dragon Quest definitely did. Yeah. But yeah, that's my only thing is like, because I do want to try out the combat because I am just intensely curious about like, that aspect of the game. But also it's a month out, and I know I'm gonna buy it anyway. So like,
Sure.
Really,
I mean, this is as much as olive branch for sorry we delayed the game as anything else, you know?
Yeah. It's like, oh hey, March 3rd, you were supposed to play the game today. Well, you could still play it, kinda.
A little bit. So yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
Can't believe Red 13's not playable. Cancel the whole game.
Cancel the whole game. he would have been playable for 5 minutes if he was. So it's
Yeah, I
the
know.
unfortunate fact.
He still shows up though.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you can see what he looks like.
And
It's out there.
he's like an assist character basically, right? Like a guest
Yeah.
party member.
Yeah,
You
and there's a
get to
couple.
play
And
as him.
Jesse and Biggs and Wedge do that in the demo
Yeah.
for a little bit too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then we'll be able to play as him in part 2 in 3 to 5 years.
God.
It's fine. We're fine.
Is it?
Yeah. While we're talking about what we've been playing, Ills, you've been going back to a game from Rare Limited, Recore.
Oh, yeah.
Where?
Isn't it Rare? Am I crazy?
No,
it's
it's,
former retro people. I got the R's confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Former retro people from
Armature?
their Armature Studios. Yeah.
Yes.
And
I apologize.
what's his name? The Mega Man guy.
Oh yeah, Keiji Inafune produced
Yeah.
this game. I forgot about that little
Concept.
tidbit.
Right. Yes. Concept. Yeah, I've been playing this game recently. It's on Game Pass. It's pretty cool.
I bought it when it came out for $40.
What a fool.
Same. I did too. So.
Once again, you get cucked by Game Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, so far, like, the environment's kind of bland. It's all desert, basically. But the platforming stuff that you do with the other, pets that you get, or cores, whatever they're called.
Robot buddies.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. The combat's a little bland, also, but, it's fine. It's pretty good. It's like a B tier game, basically.
Sure. It's the perfect for Game Pass kind of game.
Maybe more of like a C+, It's cool.
Whatever
It's
you want to call it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
here's a
neat
question.
little game, but it's like there's nothing special about it.
I liked the platforming the best in that game.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's
Yeah.
you have a lot of maneuverability, like, as soon as, like, right out the box, basically.
I know that's one of those games that I hear a small but loud amount of people say, you got to try the definitive edition. It does a lot of changes.
Yeah, they changed a lot apparently because like when the game originally came out, it was very bare bones, right? And I've not played the definitive edition, but from what I've heard, they just they retooled a bunch of stuff to make it feel tighter and more fun, and they gave you a lot of more options and.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the definitive edition is the one on Game Pass.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
the one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
It
you
was
get
a free,
the
I
best
think it
version
was a
of the
free update for people who had the original. It's just that, yeah, it was weird. Instead of games get get patches throughout their life.
Right.
Recore kind of just didn't until they just put it all in one big patch. One
Right.
big old definitive edition like 8 months later, which is interesting. But, yeah.
I actually have one more game that I'm playing.
Oh,
It's sort of off and on because I'm playing it with somebody else, and whenever they come by. Children of Morta I'm playing from Game Pass.
ooh,
It's it's kind of like a Diablo-like game, but also like way more story-driven, way better. Like it's actually really, really good.
yeah,
Like, there's a lot of good like little vignettes in there about the family. Like you control this family of characters called the Bergsons, and it's like 7 of those family members, and you could swap between them, and they all have like party buffs that, if you unlock a certain level with each of them, like the whole team gets them. It's pretty fucking cool, and the voice acting is really good because there's like a narrator, and every time like you get through a dungeon, or if you lose at a dungeon, it's a roguelike. So like every time you lose to a dungeon, go back to the main base, there's always like a story element to that pops up. It's really, really impressive, actually.
I remember when I first heard about Children of Morta, the pitch that someone said was like, it's an RPG, it's like a action RPG, but like with roguelike elements, but it has a story and multiplayer, which are two things that typically are not associated with roguelikes.
Yeah.
And I think that's really
it
interesting.
has all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very good. It's like one of the best, brawler type Diablo action RPG games that I've played.
And that's, I mean, it's nice because it's weird, like the sort of like roguelike genre, especially in that like over the perspective, you're dodging enemy attacks kind of game, is it's actually filling out a lot, right, in the last couple of years, and so it's nice to have a clear like differentiator to get people interested, right, if they are into those kinds of games.
Yeah, I it's kind of like a Rogue Legacy, a little bit, where like every time like every roguelike basically, where you die and then you power up your characters, you go back, you go again. But in this one, it's like, because it's a family, and because you have like this hub where the family interacts with each other, and there's all these like different story moments. It's it's done really really well.
Mm-hmm.
So even like when you fail, you mess up, there's usually like a scene that you get to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's nice. All right, so you look at this, right? Even when there are no video games coming out, or no video games being announced, let's say, right? There's plenty of video games to play. Never forget that.
Too many.
Too many.
I forgot. I haven't played a video game in like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you?
Fuck. This is why you're not on the game club.
I just this is why.
Yeah, speaking of which, you haven't fucking streamed in like a month.
Look,
That's why you're never getting a club pick.
Sonic Adventure 2 killed my interest in video games, I think.
No, I think the real world did.
I think Sonic Adventure 2 was just so bad that I don't believe.
I think it was Paper Mario because that was your first step into hell, and you didn't want to see what the rest of it was going to be.
I don't believe in the medium anymore.
I think it might have been Garfield.
I think I'm gonna start a movie podcast.
Wow.
Sticker Star will do that to you. It's awful game.
What's your favorite movie you watched this year, Muzamil?
I have not watched a movie all year.
I figured. I knew that answer.
I don't think I've watched one either.
I was leading the witness.
I saw Sonic the Hedgehog.
How was Sonic the Hedgehog?
It was perfectly fine.
Which is what it needed to be, right?
Sure.
Yeah. I have no actual complaints about it.
It joins Detective Pikachu as perfectly fine.
Except it's gonna make more money than Detective Pikachu.
It's a good kids movie. It really is. Like a very standard plot. Nothing very exciting about the plot, or really even about the writing. But it doesn't do anything horrendously bad. Jim Carrey's pretty great. It's just fine. I have no complaints about it.
Wait, I like Detective Pikachu. Why'd you say it was just fine? What the fuck?
Detective Pikachu's good, but it's a weird movie.
I think Detective Pikachu is better than Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sure.
I think Detective Pikachu goes off the rails in the worst possible way.
No, not in the worst possible way. Come on.
Yeah.
You just got
What do you
freaked out
mean?
by Ditto Lady.
It was very.
You got
weird.
scared. You needed your mommy in the theater.
The whole like nothing happens in Detective Pikachu for about 60 minutes, and then the last 15 minutes, just everything is happening.
It's a mystery plot, baby.
I mean, it's not like a Shakespearean epic or something. It's like
but
it's not the height of the medium here. Jesus Christ.
Sonic and Detective Pikachu are both great, are both good for what they are.
And I enjoyed watching it for that alone. So
And Mewtwo was the good guy.
And Mewtwo was the good guy. Spoilers.
Beautiful.
Gigantamax Torterra.
Torterra. I popped huge.
It's true. They were hinting at Gigantamax.
Yeah.
They're hinting.
Or Dynamax.
All right, boys. I don't know if you know this, but the real world, we don't talk about it much, right? Except for the last week when we talked about viral outbreak. This week, because of that said viral outbreak, the stock market has been going crazy.
Nice.
But we don't care about that. We're not going to tell you to buy or sell stock. Yeah. We're here to buy or sell video game trends. That's what we're going to tell.
Whoa.
So I have in front of me 14. I cut one of them. 14 things that I would say rose or played a role in this generation of video games, right? Mm-hmm. I want each of you to say whether you think you're buying, selling, or holding. Basically, you think it's going to get more important in the next gen, less important in the next gen, or just the same. All right?
Okay.
All right, first up, virtual reality.
Sell.
We're an immediate sell from Muzamil.
I mean, I agree with him. I don't see it becoming more important. That's for sure.
Okay, now there's the mad money. Justify.
I'm gonna say hold. I think Xbox is gonna come out with their own.
That was one of your predictions.
I think hold is more reasonable because I don't think it's necessarily gonna go down any because it's already pretty low. You know? But it's just like VR is not really going anywhere. I mean, maybe I'm selling at the worst possible time actually because fucking Half-Life Alyx
is coming out.
Is a couple weeks away, 2 weeks away.
2 weeks away. Right? March 23rd, I think.
So maybe I'm actually selling at the worst possible time. Who knows? But so maybe I'll actually hold. No, but VR, it's like it hasn't really gotten any traction, right?
Uh-huh.
It's not really doing so high. Lately, I guess the Valve Index and the Oculus Quest are starting to sell out, mostly because of Half-Life. But also the Oculus Quest is, I guess, a pretty cool piece of tech. I think Oculus in particular is interesting because I think they are going to focus more on the standalone headset, and as those standalone headsets get better and they get cheaper, I think
The dream is for the Oculus to be when you're at checkout at Kohl's, here's an Oculus.
Yeah, like when an Oculus Quest is like $199 or like $149, you know?
Yeah. You know how people
I
bought
think-
those like cheapo headsets they sucked their phones in 3 years ago for like $50? That's their goal.
Yeah.
But like actually good.
I think that like once it gets to once the because I think standalone is going to be what VR kind of
Right.
I think that's going to be a more bigger thing than connecting it to your PC or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that once those because I think what you kind of have to accept. I am changing my answer to hold, right? But I think what you kind of have to accept about VR is it is a novelty, right? And I think that a novelty headset is worth $200, but I don't think it's worth much more than that, you know?
It's either worth 200 or 1,000. You know, it's that middle space.
Yeah, but there's no like exactly. Like if you want like super high end, you have the Valve Index. Otherwise, again, once the Quest gets cheap enough, I think it's gonna be a cool Christmas gift. It's gonna be stuff like that. But like, it's definitely not gonna become like the future of games. Like a lot of people were trying to say it would. Like, oh, you're never gonna want to play a game on a flat screen ever again.
Okay.
No, that's not true. But
Yeah.
VR still has a place, I guess.
Sure.
And it does
Next
something
up.
different, which is cool. So, yeah.
Subscription services. That's Xbox
Buy.
Live,
That's
Game Pass, PS.
Oh, that's 100% buy.
That's a buy.
100%,
You gotta
yeah.
buy.
This is the easiest
You
buy.
should have bought that like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And Sony's gonna be. I mean, here's the secret. Sony just announced on PS Now you get Control. That's part of that now, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So clearly, I mean, when PS5, I think they're gonna go all in on it too. I think it's gonna be a PS Now Game Pass war.
Yeah. I mean, 100% buy. You gotta buy. Yeah. I mean, now I think the price is high to buy because it's already proven.
Well, it hasn't hit like quite like. It's not like it hasn't replaced traditional buying models, purchase models,
Yeah.
right? But I do think there's a chance that like it does become the dominant thing, right? So I would say
like what digital
that's why I
did
would
this
say buy,
generation.
because much like I think we're like in the early periods of Netflix, right, where it was kind of first hitting off, but at some point Netflix became this just fucking everyone has it, right?
And they're
But
like,
that's
we're
not-
not giving you DVDs anymore. That's not, no one's using that.
Yeah. And while there's still going to be a place for like $60 purchases probably, I think that by and large, like people are just going to want to have subscription services. They don't like, hey, $15 a month, I get Game Pass, I get 100 plus games. Cool. I'm good, you know?
Yep.
So yeah.
All right. Next up, cloud gaming. That's xCloud. That is Google Stadia. That is everything else. We're selling?
Sell. Yeah.
I think
I'm not
gonna,
convinced.
I think I'm gonna hold.
You
Because
know,
I think xCloud could prove different. You know.
I think I'm going to buy.
3 different
And let me
ones.
tell you why.
First time.
I was close to buy. I was close.
I do think because it is a low point right now, right? Google Stadia, people think, oh, streaming is dead. We're done. Fuck off cloud gaming. No one wants this.
Google just opened their second studio this week. Oh boy.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of
But
the executive producers of God of War 2018, which is pretty wild.
now, if we were just talking about Google Stadia is done. Okay,
Yeah.
I do not see Google Stadia rebounding. Sorry,
Oh yeah.
it's dead.
It's dead in the water.
Yeah, goodbye Google Stadia. However, I think Xbox, I think PlayStation can actually have a pretty big push for it because they have the 20 plus years of back catalog to leverage. You know,
Yes.
they have every AAA and indie and everything in between game that comes to both of those platforms essentially, right? Like sure, Xbox is missing some Japanese games, but for the most part, like pretty much everything comes to Xbox and PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And you have this established base, you have this, and I think the idea of, oh, I can just, hook up, just connect my DualShock 4 to my iPad and start playing Halo 5 Infinite.
What?
Whatever. Halo Infinite.
Here's my question to you though.
It's
a challenge.
Nice.
So we're asking about this next generation, right?
Yeah.
5G is 4 to 5 years off.
Correct.
I think right now internet connection is still the limiting factor. For cloud services.
No, you're right. That's still gonna be a limiting factor, but I do think next gen is gonna be longer than even PS4 was.
Sure.
Right?
Do we think it'll have a kind of an arc that subscription services had this go around, right? Where midway through Game Pass suddenly interjects itself and is going to become a big thing going into the next gen, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of people are just gonna enjoy having that convenience and that option of they're still gonna primarily play on their Xbox or their PC or whatever.
I don't think people care that much about playing on their iPad or
that was just an example, but let me give you a better example then. GeForce Now is hitting big right now, because what people are realizing is, oh shit, I love playing on my PC. GeForce Now lets me play as if I have a GTX 2080, you know? Whoa, I can play in 4K. My graphics card is not suited for this, right? And yet I can play games that look better, that run better than my native hardware can. And I think that aspect of it is pretty cool because, I think for PC gaming in particular, when streaming becomes more and more viable, it's going to be I don't have to worry about upgrading my hardware. And there's always going to be that market who does care about that, who does want the best parts and everything. But just the idea that my 1060, which is getting pretty old now, right, will be able to have a game using ray tracing, right? Oh, I can play Control with ray tracing? That's pretty cool, you know?
I don't disagree that it's a cool idea. I just don't see it getting a big market there. You know what I mean? I could be wrong, but
my biggest thing looking at it is, and I think you guys all make good points, especially with it not being able to run as good as it can right now. But my biggest thing is saving so much hard drive space on having all these games that you just can, if you have Game Pass and all the games are streamable. You just choose a game. You don't have to have it download, and you just play it right there. You don't have to worry about, do I have enough space on my hard drive to download this game? And you don't have to wait for it to download either if you don't have it, and you just press play and play it instantly.
Yeah.
And to me, that's really cool.
I'm curious because there's a path where rather than it being like a whole new Game Pass, is like the suspend feature for this generation, right? Where it just becomes a thing that's just a part of consoles that we sort of take for granted, and we're like, oh yeah, I forgot there was the time where you had to download it first before you could do it, right?
Yeah, I think that's actually that's a very good point. In conjunction with Game Pass, in conjunction with PlayStation.
Yeah, I feel like this is a different thing almost. You're combining the two.
No, but
it's under the umbrella of cloud gaming. There's a lot of things in this. It's a broad category.
No, because xCloud has a different set of games, right? It's a different thing.
No, but see, here's the thing though. Your Game Pass subscription will just kind of come with xCloud.
If you have Game Pass Ultimate.
If you have Game Pass Ultimate.
Is that what they said?
Yeah.
I believe so. I might be lying. I don't. Maybe but I want to say they have already established that.
Well, the games that are currently demoing on xCloud are on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Isn't Tales of Vesperia on xCloud and not on Game Pass?
I'm not sure. I don't think everything on xCloud will be on Game Pass, but things that are on Game Pass and are on xCloud you can stream. Is sort of the way I look at it, right?
Yeah,
all of Microsoft's for Halo Master Chief Collection is going to be on xCloud, and if you have Game Pass, you have access to it on xCloud.
And even as something as minuscule as you're downloading a game, but you're just you get to start playing immediately while it downloads. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And that's not this game-changing feature, right? But it's just gonna be added because we're talking about buy, sell, hold, right? Right now, streaming is basically non-existent, right? And I think that in a couple years, it's just gonna be so ingrained to us of, I can just boot something up like that, you know, while still having the option to download the game and all that stuff, right? But it's gonna be great for Game Pass, right? Just I just want to try these things out before I commit to downloading 70 gigs. You know,
or over 100 if you're talking about the fucking Master Chief Collection.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I mean, I was just looking at it from using other peripherals or
Sure.
screens and shit like that.
Oh, sure. Maybe that doesn't take
yeah.
off as much, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I agree with that with you, Ills, because I don't look at it as like I want to be able to play on my tablet or all this and that. I don't really care about that. I can play on my phone while I go on lunch at work. No, I don't really give a shit,
Well, here's my thing though. If that stuff comes to Switch though, I'm gonna use it a lot.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that's you. I think the one comparison point that is funny about that specifically is, do you remember that at the beginning of this console generation there was a lot of second screen experiences that were talked about the first E3, right?
Fucking smart
Wii U,
glass.
baby.
Yeah, and so I think that there's the potential that cloud gaming in that aspect does go the way of second screen experiences, right? Which is it largely doesn't exist anymore. But we don't know, right? Because there's a whole market of people that are only playing PUBG and Fortnite on their phones, and they're the majority of those players, right? So those are two of the biggest games in the world. So
That's the majority of them?
Yep.
For
Jesus
PUBG,
Christ.
yeah. Which is the thing, When speaking of Fortnite, Epic, the company,
Games.
Epic Games, right? Big last gen, they had the engine, right? Unreal Engine. This go around, Unity rose up. There was more competition, but they have Fortnite, and so now they have a storefront. What do we think for next gen for Epic? Buy, sell, or hold?
I mean, sell. I don't see them like Fortnite is gonna go down, right? I think so. Fortnite at some point stabilizes into the place that League of Legends is, and maybe it's already doing that, right?
I think it already has.
Which is like it's still one of the biggest games in the world, right? But that's not.
It's not the
more
biggest.
than what it is.
Yeah.
Now, the Epic Game Store. I don't. It is successful so far, right? But the challenge becomes when Epic is no longer willing to money hat exclusives. Are people still using the Epic Game Store?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, they extended the exclusives, the free games thing, into this year when originally it was only supposed to be 1 year.
Yeah.
Which either means that I think it's more successful than they thought, or they're looking at the numbers and that's the only reason that people are showing up, right? And I think it's one of those two options.
So I don't know if I don't know if I'm very curious if Epic Game Store can sustain itself. That's the big question.
I'm gonna say hold. I'm not sure what's gonna happen with these guys. I don't think that necessarily Fortnite's gonna go anywhere, or lose or stabilize or anything, because they keep updating it, right? I mean that's the whole thing. Like they keep trying to make it fresh. So I don't know. I have no idea where they're gonna go, but I'm pretty confident that they're gonna stay pretty big.
And there is always, like Dauntless is a game, right, that is under the Epic umbrella. They help publish and they're making a lot of money off of. That isn't Fortnite numbers, right? But it's quietly still in the top 20 games on PSN for the last year, right? And so I think that there's a chance that you can parlay the Fortnite success into just diversifying, right? Which is the same thing that the League people are doing at the same time, So I think that there might just
so far, I mean, they've been the only competitor that's ever been able to step up to Steam and last, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we talked about Discord store lasted 5 months, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's already gone at least for over a year now, right?
Yeah, because it was Game Awards last year.
Yeah.
Or 2 years ago, I guess.
Or 2018, yeah. And so they're still going. Yeah, I don't know. It also makes it tough because they don't publish any sort of numbers or anything, so we have no idea how successful it is or whatever.
All right.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't see it growing, but I can definitely see them being just stable. And Unreal Engine has already hit such a saturation point that I can't see it's gonna expand even more. Yeah.
All right. I have 2 more before we'll move on. The next one, physical media.
Oh, fucking sell. Sell.
Yeah, I'm gonna say sell. I haven't bought a physical thing in a while.
Brandon?
It's a weird thing. I mean, you know how I feel about physical.
Yeah.
I mean, put your this is your stock portfolio, okay? Put your personal feelings aside. No emotional attachment. What are you doing, Brandon?
This is what I'll say. If they make it cheaper, than physical is, I'll absolutely 100% buy. Like,
Okay.
Physical?
No, if they make it cheaper. So I'll buy in on. I'm buying on fucking. Are we talking about physical? Okay, we're talking about physical. So then I sell. I 100% sell a physical because if digital is cheaper, I 100% am going digital. There's no. It's just up to me. It's just money at this point.
No.
I
But
don't care.
this is not even you personally. This is. Do you think physical games will expand or stay the same or lessen going into next?
They're gonna lessen. They're gonna lessen. Numbers showing they're gonna lessen. There's no fucking doubt.
So you gotta sell. You gotta.
No,
sell.
he was saying that. He was
Then-
saying that.
Then yes.
Yeah. Because physical games, let's be real. Like, you know, more and more, like we are seeing the digital share of AAA games,
Grow.
just get higher and higher and higher. I think.
I mean, the numbers don't lie. They spell disaster for physical.
Yes, they do.
And
There
then
you go.
you know, specialty stores like GameStop probably won't be around by the end of next gen. You know,
Like-
I mean, good.
I own like 40, maybe 50 Switch games, and maybe like 3 of them are physical.
I'm in a very similar spot.
I don't own a single physical. Well, I own. No, that's not true. Breath of the Wild and Ring Fit, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I own
I'm trying-
3.
I'm
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
three
think of
physical
the. I mean, I have a decent amount of physical Switch games, but I think the
Yeah.
last physical Switch game I bought might have been Smash Brothers.
Oh wow! So it's been like
I think
about a
all
year.
of
December
2019
2018?
because of the voucher program.
Yeah.
I think I went completely digital like the entire year just because of the voucher thing, and that's the personal thing with me too. It's just it's fucking cheaper, dog.
Yeah.
Like I was able to get it cheaper. Why the fuck am I not going to buy it if it's cheaper? You know, obviously it has the convenience factor too, which is great. You know, in Animal Crossing, I decided to have no vouchers left. You know, fuck you, Nintendo. But Animal Crossing, perfect game for digital.
All
That's
the
a
time.
game
Have it
that
on
you
you.
want to just always have. access
Absolutely.
to, right?
I mean, I bought Wild World. That was one of the only digital games I bought on 3DS. But I bought it
New Leaf.
digital for that
Yeah.
reason.
So there it is. I mean, that's yeah. I thought that was a generally universal one. Last one, licensed AAA games, right? There's been a weird arc with this one, right? Because the big example we would say of a blow up would be EA Star Wars, right? For a while,
Yeah.
but then they turn it around with Jedi Fallen Order, right? Batman is another big.
because Jedi Fallen Order is now one of their biggest hits in ages.
Yes, right, which is a big turnaround.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a thing like Batman, which we talked about on the list a couple weeks ago, but like sort of took a
Spider-Man.
break this gen, right? Versus having 4 last gen.
But
games.
Spider-Man.
But then Spider-Man
Spider-Man's-
was fucking huge.
Yeah.
Huge hit.
So we buy, sell, hold for the next gen.
we have Avengers coming up. I'm gonna say buy.
I'm gonna say buy, specifically because I think a company like EA, a company like Activision, I think they see less risk involved when it has a very big multimedia IP attached to it, right? I think that, I mean, the success of Spider-Man and Jedi Fallen Order are just undeniable, right? Spider-Man is the biggest Sony game they've ever published, you know? Which I think says something. And I think that, you're going to see Warner Brothers go all in with stuff like, we know they're making a Harry Potter game. I think Batman's taking a break, but there's no way that Batman's going to come back eventually, you know?
Yeah.
Rocksteady is almost certainly working on some sort of licensed game, right? And hell, Ubisoft is making that Avatar game. Do you remember that?
Yeah. They got the license 10 years ago, and it's finally paying
gonna
off,
say-
baby.
I'm gonna say hold. Like compared to where licensed games used to be and where they are now, there's definitely been a winnowing. Like there's, not a lot. There aren't as many as there used to be. But
I mean, it's sort of
the
like
ones that there are now are great.
Yeah.
I'll take quality over.
But
quantity.
my thing is,
Yeah, sure.
okay, but AAA licensed games, and you compare it to the output overall of the company, I think EA is much more willing to greenlight a Star Wars game than they are a game
Mirror's Edge.
like Mirror's Edge 3, you know?
At some point, EA is gonna fuck it up. I'm sure. of it.
sure.
I mean, they did with
But
Battlefront,
then,
They
too,
already
right?
did.
Yeah, but like Square Enix's entire Western division now. Sorry, Tomb Raider. Sorry, Deus Ex. Sorry, Thief. You're all working on Marvel games. You're working on the Avengers. You're working on a Guardians of the Galaxy game.
Well,
you know?
I mean, a lot of people don't like the way that Avengers game was.
And that's the thing, right? Is I think that there is risk.
There's sure, but like if the Avengers just hits it big, right? Like,
which I hope it does.
Do you? Yeah, but then do you think Deus Ex is ever come back? You know?
I mean, I think
who knows?
It's following the arc that like movies are, right? Which is that there's fewer blockbuster movies coming out in the 2010s than there was in the 2000s, right? But those releases were bigger than they ever were before, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that there might be that similar thing where, like, you know, as was going to happen no matter what, but percentage-wise, I feel like there's a decent chance the licensed games make up a larger percent of the AAA titles than they did this go-around.
And, you know, I think Disney, for example, has recently said, hey, if you want to use one of our IPs, we now give you our full blessing. Just hit us up. We want more people making games with our IPs. So they're not really doing the exclusive deal, like, you know, EA Star Wars, right?
How many more
Kingdom
Hearts games are winning it?
They're Nomura can now just be unleashed, you know? He doesn't have oversight on him anymore.
Verum Rex.
Verum Rex is taking place on Hoth.
They got burnt by EA, and they learned a lesson.
And Square, right? I'm sure that when they made that Marvel agreement, they weren't expecting to have one game out within the 5 years of that deal. You know, like
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think Marvel was already kind of agnostic, right? Because they had Sony make Spider-Man, they had Nintendo do Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Sure.
And Nintendo, right? If even Nintendo is doing this whole license games deal, you know, I feel like that kind of says something, no?
Sure.
You know, Will, you're gonna hate every second of what I'm gonna have to say right now. But there, as much as I definitely love quality over quantity, and I'm happy that we get in a lot of quality licensed games. There's this part of me that misses the day when every single stupid fucking movie that was coming out was getting a stupid video game.
Oh no, there's a charm to that era of video.
We had so many shit games, and like they were just lining store shelves, and like there's this part of me that misses it only because in like 10 or 15 years we're not going to have as many shitty games to go back and look at and make like YouTube and
Nintendo
and Twitch streams
YouTubers
about.
are sweating right now when they're in their 40s and they're like, remember Spider-Man? Yeah, of course
I think it's so weird too. Sorry, I guess this is off topic now, but like there's not that many bad AAA games that come out these days. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, and the ones that are big are like huge focal points. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
Like you get your Fallout 76, you get your Battlefront 2s, right? And those are just like those. Yeah, those are like the stories of the year. Where like, remember Dark Void?
No.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Capcom spent a lot of money on Dark Void, and it just came and went. You know, Dark Sector. It's all the dark games except for Souls.
Yeah. But there's these weird footnotes in the history of these companies though that are like that are interesting to make videos about, you know, and talk about. But that's like waning off, you know.
Yeah.
There's this part of me that obviously misses it because nowadays, you know, Rockstar has made one game this entire generation, right? But like, you know, there's just less games coming out. Yeah, they're more quality, but sometimes I miss the shit, you know.
Well, I mean, you could always go to the indies and you'll find shit there.
Well,
there's a lot of crossword puzzles you can buy on the Nintendo Switch.
Crappy mobile games aside,
there is at least one licensed indie game, The Mummy Demastered.
Hey,
that's a good game though.
Yeah, well, there you go.
There you go.
Maybe they all go to indies.
Maybe. But that is our hot mad money segment. I'm looking forward to this preceding the financial crash, just like back in 2007. Nice. But that was fun. I enjoyed that. That was but you know what else is fun? The list.
The list.
The list.
God, we're so bad.
That one with that when there's only two people because Moose refuses to participate.
What a piece of shit.
I was going to, but then I was so thrown off that you guys were like not together, and I was like, wait, what?
Well, my computer lagged up at that moment, so I was like the whole thing froze.
I was so confused. I was like, what's going on?
Such a coward.
We wanted to all do it separate this time.
God. Follow along in the
well.
pastebin below.
Follow along in the basement below, as every week we add to an ever-growing list of over 169 video games.
Nice.
Last week, I brought Castle Crashers. It made it to number 72 on the list. There's Castle Crashers, and then there's Snatcher. There's a nice little rhyme going there.
Wow.
But this week, Ills, you're bringing a game for the list.
I am. And this week, we are going to do what I always do and try to rectify the past by bringing it up to the future. And we're going to pick BioShock. Let's go.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, here we go. It's BioShock, people.
We got a first-person shooter with a very good story, for the most part. A very good iconic twist. Fun powers that you unlock. A pretty interesting kind of... I don't know how to word this correctly. Like a choice system between, saving the little sisters and murdering them. Which kind of like makes you feel weird sometimes.
I mean, it's comically evil, the choice that they give you,
Yeah, it's like murder a child or don't.
Yeah.
And, the iconic, the setting of Rapture being an underwater city. It's
Oh, yeah.
really, really cool. And the Big Daddies, of course, they're fucking great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Atlas Shrugged.
That
Yeah.
is. There's
It's
a lot of
very-
people that somehow walked out of BioShock thinking it was endorsing libertarian ideals. It wasn't. But
Pretty nice.
It's very pretty. I mean, I love the whole
yeah.
world of Rapture. Yeah.
Rapture is my favorite part of BioShock. Right? It's just like it's so cool to see the mystery of this place unravel. Right?
Yeah.
And I feel like with time, people are sort of harsher on BioShock a lot more than when it came out. Right? And I think that's fine. You can have your perspective change with time. But I think that part of it is the distance from the mystery of the place. Right? Because the opening, right? You're on the plane, it crashes, there's the weird lighthouse, and then what is this underwater city, right?
Yeah.
And all the different facets of it, each area, there's like levels to BioShock in a weird way, right? But each of them is
Sections.
sort of, is like the different districts are like different aspects of the city.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool to explore that.
Yeah.
I think BioShock feels a bit dated, though.
Oh, I would say like the first-person shooter mechanics of it. Yeah, they're not the best.
Yeah.
I guess they were never the star of BioShock, right?
No.
But like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the atmosphere and the storytelling. I think that was always the thing that kept you playing that game.
The plasmids are the most interesting part of the combat, right? But then the plasmids sort of, they're neat, but like ultimately I sort of ended up only using a couple, right? Because the game never really needs you to use other ones.
They're kind of underwhelming a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, the gameplay's like it's not bad. It's just,
No.
Not the best.
Yeah, it's and I think that that's the thing. But like we sort of said, the other things are why you show up, and I have quibbles here and there with the story, and obviously the conclusion is the big complaint, right?
Yeah, after the twist.
They didn't know how to end the story. But along the way, I think up to that twist, you're like, oh man, this is really cool, right? I think it's obviously a big landmark title in video games, right? Just because there's that. I mean, the Would You Kindly twist is a meta commentary on video games, right? Like the linear nature of it, and like there's obviously been a bunch of games that have since sort of had that type of insight and kind of like meta commentary. But at that moment, it was sort of a big thing for people, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't something like you were spoiled on. Like, it was just like, it was a shock, basically. It was, like, really, really good.
Yeah, some would say it was a BioShock.
Damn. Fucking got me. Holy shit. Let me just, I gotta, fix my thoughts right now.
Collect yourself.
Yeah.
And
this is also one of the first, I don't know if it's one of the first games, but it's one of the first games that you pick up like audio logs of other people talking. You get like a more of a sense of their day-to-day lives and the mysteries that go along with the this underwater city.
And I feel like people took the wrong lessons from audio logs, right?
I like how they do it in BioShock, but every game since then, maybe not every game, but Most games don't do that right. You know?
Yeah, but Bioshock,
Most of the
I mean, I
time,
think it's sort of
audio
like-
logs suck ass.
I think it's sort of like Detective Vision and Arkham Asylum, right? Which is another game on the list, right? Where like in this first thing, you're like, this is great, but then like everyone sort of was like, well, we're just gonna do it too. Like, but like, no, it worked well because it was envisioned with this game, sort of, right?
I'm trying to think of another game that did it good. I think maybe Dead Space. If they had, I think it had audio logs in Dead Space.
Yeah, because both those games are sort of horror and there's mystery involved, right? Where a lot of it's just like, oh no, we're in a war-torn city and this person's got a sad audio log. It's like, I wonder what happened.
Oh yeah.
They got shot.
Yeah,
Whoa.
in the Tomb Raider games, there's a lot of like audio logs for no reason.
Yeah,
Tomb
that's a
Raider.
good thing.
Tomb Raider is a good example for both of those stupid things we just mentioned.
Yeah, it has Detective Vision too, right?
Yeah,
Stupid
it does.
Detective Vision.
Yeah,
Very true.
and it's like so poorly done. Yeah.
All right, so Ills, where do you want
All
to put
right.
Bioshock?
I definitely want it above Borderlands. I would put it. I want it in like the 30s. I'd say.
Okay.
Okay, I was actually I was gonna say above Skyward Sword. That's
Jeez Louise, people.
I was initially before we started this podcast, I was thinking about like above Tales of Symphonia, ish.
Oh my god.
I would put it. Sorry, Muzamil. I think I'm looking. I would look around like the Path of Radiance area, right? For me personally, but
Well,
I-
where did you want it?
I mean, maybe I just need to move Hotline Miami up though, because once again, for me, it's a fucking hard stop. It's like, man, come on, man, Hotline Miami.
I love Hotline Miami. It's just it's not where BioShock is. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'd be fine with moving Hotline Miami
I
up,
love Hotline
but-
Miami too, but it is what it is. You know, I don't know.
For a second, I thought you loved the second game, and I was like,
I also love the second game.
Second game's good.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's just like, I love Hotline Miami too.
Oh yeah, I love Hotline Miami. I love the second one. The first one can go to hell.
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, here's my thing. Okay, I'm gonna ignore Hotline Miami for a second, but I do have another hard fucking stop at Wii Sports. Okay, because I think Wii Sports is a revolutionary game, but also it is an incredible proof of I think proof of concept is not fair. I think that game
It's a good
sets
realization.
out to do exactly what it wants to do, you know, and that is to give me the feeling that I'm playing tennis with my friends or bowling with my friends or whatever, you know.
Yes.
Well, here's
But
my
it's also
problem.
very surface level. You know what I mean? Like it does what it does very well. I acknowledge that completely. But like, what else is there to it?
But like, why do people go bowling all the time? You know, they're just fundamentally, it's a great.
Because they're lame.
Fundamentally, it is a great pastime.
You are, I am.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Both the same thing. I'm moving up Wii Sports just for what's his name for that guy. Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
it's
and
hard.
then I have another hard ceiling in Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow. Because I think Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow is a phenomenal game. You know, you could say this age party, but you know, gameplay wise, but so did BioShock.
I would say Pokemon has more warts in the gameplay department.
And
than
Pokemon
Bioshock.
Red, Blue, and Yellow is an RPG with 150 party members.
Oh boy.
okay? And if you're talking about atmosphere, okay, I
alright,
felt
let's-
much more about the atmosphere of Red and Blue than I did in Violet.
Come on.
That's a little weird. That's a
Christ.
weird statement.
So I'm more willing to hear Wii Sports. You might notice that all the games we're talking about here were in this little category. We're all ranked by SAF, meaning I didn't have opinions on their original placements.
Oh yeah, that's true. This is like a SAF corner right here.
Yeah, it is. I would go on out and say that Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow should have never been moved down.
I agree.
But I think BioShock. I still feel pretty confident in where I originally said. But
I would be willing to put it below Resident Evil. Having thought about it, Wii Sports is a hang-up. I get it, right? But I think it's better than Brawl and Left 4 Dead and Overwatch and.
Oh, sure, I'll give you Brawl and Left 4 Dead. Yeah, okay, I guess. I mean, I would also put it below Overwatch and Superstar Saga, but you know, whatever. I'm clearly not winning this battle.
But I would keep it below Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, sure. Alright.
I'm okay with that. I mean,
Not gonna
Resident
complain.
Evil, another game that would, it's a horror game, kind of like Bioshock. Bioshock is weird to me, where it's like, it's a horror game, but I also don't think of it as one.
Yeah, I mean, you can't die, basically. That's one of the things that
So you do just respawn forever.
But there are, like, very menacing enemies. Like, those big daddies could mess you up very fast.
Yeah.
True. It has the feel of a horror game, but it doesn't really feel
And the
like one
atmosphere,
at the same time.
Yeah.
But
I forgot to mention the crafting is actually pretty cool in this game, too.
Mhm.
You know
The
what I
hacking
don't
is
like?
bad, but
hacking. Yeah,
I
was
like
just
the
gonna say that.
hacking. What?
No,
the pipe
I hate that
puzzles.
shit.
I don't mind pipe puzzles in games in general. There's just a lot of it.
Yeah, there's.
There's a lot of them, and they have time limits, and it pisses me off.
I mean, the time limit's what makes it fun.
No. I can't think when I have a time limit over my head.
Get scared.
It's stressing me out.
That's the horror
That's why
aspect.
he doesn't like Majora's Mask.
Ooh.
That's maybe. That's part of the reason why I fucking hate Majora's Mask. So
Very
Wow.
sad.
not that I hate that game, but it's
Exposed.
part of my issues with it. I'll tell you that. Right
Sure.
now.
All right. So there it is, though. Number 30 on the list, BioShock. Surrounding it, 28, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, 29, Resident Evil, 30, as I said, BioShock, 31, Tales of Symphonia, 32, Mario and Luigi, Superstar Saga. Learned something, by the way, from the Final Fantasy VII Remake, pronounced Mako, not Mako. Said it wrong for 20 years.
I think that's how I pronounce it, but I don't remember.
That's
you know?
always how I pronounce
It's
it.
for me, it's one of those, you know how like when you learn something and you're like, did I don't know. Maybe I pronounced it or maybe I didn't.
the Mako
Now this is all my brain associates with it now, you know?
Is it
Bernstein.
the Bernstein? Yeah, Bernstein. What is
No. That was always Stein, okay?
But that is the podcast for this week. I thank you all for listening. Anyone with the final phrase while I do plugs?
Me.
Of course.
Muzzy.
All right. So while we prepare ourselves, we have places that you can check us out, such as twitter.com/jumpupsupercast, where we post every time an episode goes live every Monday. Every other Thursday, there's the Jump Up Supercast Game Club. This past week, we uploaded for Indivisible, a more recent game for the Game Club. A lot to talk about. A game that's pretty cool. And then coming up, another one, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, which a lot to get you in that video game. And you can make sure you won't miss it by following us on Twitter, on SoundCloud, on your podcast service of choice. Just triple check, there's sometimes these services mess it up. Besides that, you can follow us on twitch.tv/jumpupsupercast, where maybe one day Muzamil will continue his journey through hell. He got 1 foot in the lava and he said, I'm scared.
Super Tuesday's over. I have time again.
It's true. But besides all that, you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, our Patreon, where you can support us if you think that we've earned a couple bucks a month. Where you can also get into a Discord where we're chatting. You can learn that we're all morons. But that is the podcast for this week. Once again, thank you for listening. And now, Muzamil, your final phrase.
So BioShock does not endorse libertarian views, okay? And I think if you are a libertarian and you played that game and you thought it did, I think you need to go back, check it out, because it's not agreeing with you.
The city literally goes crazy.
Yeah, and furthermore, I think you need to, your worldview is stupid, okay? And I think you need to branch out a little bit and learn about how the real world works, because that's not how the real world works. So please read a book, not Atlas Shrugged. Expand your horizons, okay, and be better.
Moriarty!